Red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light, red light, green light, red light.
Folks, when we met this man before, he was a man of pain, but now he's a man of war. Chris Aries, welcome back.
Thank you so much for having me back on, Sol. Hope you're doing well. It's been 2.5 years. I think we just set off camera, so
yes,
a lot's changed.
2.5 years. You were a man with a different name. I had a leather jacket and an afro, so
yeah. How things changed. Yeah, the name was a brewing change, one that I'm glad I did when I did. If anything, actually, I wish I did it earlier. I really wish I did it earlier, but you know, is what it is.
It is what it is. But let's get on with that, because back in the day, we're gonna have to say that now. I remember you were teasing it on your Instagram with a lot of videos, imagery, and then I know you did an interview with the good old Wrestling with Johners, the good man himself.
Bless him. He was so great with it as well, because as soon as I released those videos, I hadn't had any. I mean, I see Johners quite regularly at a show called United. He's always there doing the backstage interviews, so we always have a nice catch up. And I don't think I told him of the plans. I didn't really tell anybody. It was a very impulsive decision where I was like, do you know what? Screw it. I'm just going to do it now. Because if I don't do it now, I'm not going to do it at all. Everybody's talking about, when's the perfect moment. And in the end, mine came off quite ideal in the moment and the way that I did it with the multiple storylines in one go at various companies. So it was probably the best time to do it, but it was a real impulsive decision. So I hadn't told him anything. I just did it, released all the videos. And one of the first few messages I got was Johners going, I want to restart the podcast anyway. You're going to be my first guest. Let's get this name kicked off. And, he's just such a great guy. I'll always talk well about Johners. I mean, there's not many bad people in this industry anymore, to be honest with you. So it's quite blessed at the minute.
Yeah. I mean, I got to meet Johners when I was in Vegas for Mania, and I won't lie, Johners, I was quite pissed, even though it was 10 a.m.
So, he probably was too, though, wasn't he?
I mean, he was able to take a selfie with us. I was like, don't puke. This is going to look bad for your reputation. Like, keep it fucking in. Keep it in.
No, he's such a lovely guy. You could have turned up slurring your words and been all over the place. He would have been lovely to you. That's the type of guy he is, man. He's just so nice. So helpful as well.
I'm Scottish. I mean, I brought a Diet Coke for you because I'm trying to actually get this through and not actually pass out on the keyboard and you have to entertain folks for an hour. But
hey, that could be a more entertaining podcast, though, wouldn't it? If you just see your head bobbing up and down, just smacking the keyboard.
Yeah, it's just going to be like, oh, why is words popping up here? All right, okay. Is this Morse code? Is this secretive? But you know what, Chris, I want to talk about with wrestling as well. Obviously, it's that element of yourself turned up to 100 or playing another self. Becoming Chris Aries, do you feel like it's hard to let go of Adonis Payne, or do you feel like that is another personality you will ever look at again? It's not you. Separating yourself from that version of yourself, what was that like?
So when I first came into it, I was very blind to the indie scene. It was WWE, and then AEW came along, and it was whatever was on the telly. TNA, obviously, I watched growing up because it was more accessible on the TV before now with like loads of different streaming services. So for me, when I decided on the name, I was really skinny, very underweight, and I thought, I'm going to be a bad guy. I didn't realize that multiple companies might want you to do different things, or people might just start cheering for you because they like your work. I was like, I'm a bad guy, so I'm going to make this ironically funny and call myself Adonis. And being blind to the indie scene, I went, well, the perfect surname is Payne because I can do all the play on words and get all the t-shirts of Bring the Pain. And then you suddenly create an account and you go to search Payne PW on Instagram and there's hundreds. And I was like, very quickly, I knew I'd made a mistake. So like I said, when I said it was brewing for a long time, it was. I just had a lot of irons in the fire. I wasn't sure what direction to go down. And it didn't feel like me. It really didn't. My real name is Chris. And since, the last year or two, I've been coaching a lot of junior sessions at my home academy. So they're like 9 to 12-year-olds, 5 to 8-year-olds. It's a crash mat, do some jumping on a crash mat, basically. Nothing too major. So I don't need to be an advanced coach to teach at. It's very basic. So I feel comfortable in that setting. And when I was doing the 5 to 8-year-olds, a lot of them would come to the local promotion shows. And me being me on a Saturday morning when I'm out of character and just in my gym clothes, ready to coach a session, I'm going, hi guys, I'm Chris. And they look at me and their faces just drop. And then they look at their mums and dads and are like, well, who is this guy? So then they have to get explained really early doors that us people have two different names. So I always knew that the end goal would be, let's go with Chris. And also for that reason, you said that wrestling is yourself turned up to 100. The Ares was being in the Odyssey tag team. I wanted to stay down the Greek sort of orthodox God of War sort of style-y gimmick. I had the armor. I had all of that. And then I just thought Chris Ares sounded cool. And I dropped it subtly to a few people that I felt knew a lot more in the business than me. So like I think it was one of the Riot Cabaret shows before the show that I was helping out at. I went over to Charles Crowley and I went, what do you think of this? And he was like, that sounds really good. It's got a good ring to it. I said the same to Spike Trevay after I worked him last August at United. I was like, what do you think about this name if I changed it? Do you think that would work? And he just went, do it. And ultimately it got to a point where I was like, oh, what if people don't know or they don't understand or, you know, they're just going to lose faith in me, and nobody cares. Like, I was in my own head so much about it. So I would say that it wasn't hard to let go. If anything, it was more of a weight off the shoulders, because doing promos and things like that and having to go, oh, I'm Adonis, and looking like I'm not an Adonis. I'm not in the shape of like Levi Muir or Roy Johnson, where they are legit Adonises. Like, they could fit that name 10 times over. I can't do that. And I'm working to a point of getting there, and I might change my name back if I get there. But it's, for me, it was just so awkward in promos that now I feel comfortable. And it was a strange transition. I think Artemis had it the hardest, doing a tag match on the first weekend and having to go, Chris, yeah, okay, yeah, that's it, tag. So, but bless her, she was great with it as well, really supportive, and everybody has been really. So, definite weight off my shoulders, to answer the question in a long, drawn-out way.
Hey, don't worry, brother. It's been a while. I think we've got a lot to talk about, of course.
But, a lot.
Do you think it also speaks to how, you know, as people say, like, it's the magnum opus, your one dream creation. You think of it at the start and like, yeah, that's what I want to be. This is what I will present as. But there's always trial and error. You see people like how they go to NXT, they use their indie name, but they get the change, and then sometimes it sticks. Look at Braun Breaker, Gunther. People go to AEW as well on that caliber. Do you think it's always good to be in that mindset of this isn't permanent with your presentation or your name?
Do you know what? It was one of the first few things that I was told when I started training and started getting on shows was have fun with it, play around with it. You'll figure out what works and what doesn't work will go in the bin. And so I was very well aware that in the same way that people in outside life always say your first relationship's never your last, I feel like in the wrestling world, your first gimmick is never going to be your last. And yeah, to a degree, I'm doing the exact same gimmick that I did before. But if anything, I've turned it up more since the name change and doing more sort of, let's go down the God of War route rather than just, I'm a guy with a Greek Orthodox name that wears a suit of armor. But as soon as I got in the ring, I was just me wrestling. So yeah, I think I was very aware to that when I started, that I knew that maybe somewhere down the line, I might have to mix it up. And I'm quite, I'd like to think I've got quite a creative brain to a certain degree. I just don't have the creative outlet to push it everywhere. But when I sit at home, I think of all these different gimmick ideas that I could do or that I want to do. And then, of course, you got to factor in, I could do two gimmicks at once, you know, the old Mick Foley style. And then I'm like, that costs a lot of money and that might get confusing. No, thank you. So, yeah, I was aware that it was probably going to change at some point. And, you know, as soon as maybe a year into my career, when I was like, this feels stupid now, I'm going to change it. So just waiting. It was very much a waiting game. And like I said, it just took me being impulsive and just going with it.
Hey, the name's there, and I think it's good as well. I think it sticks well. It's good presentation. I like it. And, you know, it's sort of like how in real life, you know when it's official, when your birth certificate and your license documents get changed. I think for you, it's official for you when your cage match profile was updated, and it's like, there he goes.
Honestly, I think I know a guy who sends cage match all the stuff for like our local shows, and I think he updated it within like 3 hours of me releasing the promo, and he sent me a message with a screenshot of the email sent out, and he goes, take a day, but done for you. And I was like, it's just wild. It's so weird seeing myself on that database sometimes as well. Like, yeah, it's so crazy. Like the fact that they get so many matches. Like I've done some wrestling party shows for like a company called Wrestling Party UK, and they do like birthday parties, festival shows. Nothing major, nothing in storyline or canon. We turn up, we have a laugh, we put on the best show we can for these guys' birthdays and make it all about the kids. Or at a festival, you just really go over the top with the sort of camp show style wrestling. And they're always so much fun. And I find it hilarious when I see those matches are updated on there. I'm like, there's not really a real match in there, but I did a few bumps, I guess.
Hey, I mean, I might just make another profile, go as Meltzer with 2 Z's, give it 6 stars, really make people think like, what the fuck's going on here? It's like,
just change the scale. Like the lowest star rating is like 15 and the highest is 68, and just have this random sort of star rating that no one ever understands.
Chris, we can't introduce Anarchy now to Cage Match. People already go too much on that. It's Tony Khan's favorite website. We can't annoy Mr. Khan and his favorite website. We have
that
to
is
remain
true. Otherwise, he might stop coming over to the UK. And I enjoy those big weekenders that they do. They're always incredible.
Indeed, we do. You know what? Well, one final question about Cage Match. Obviously, you notice how you're on it as well, and all this documentation. How fascinating is it that in modern times we have that availability of a database like that? Because back in the day, it would have been like forums, word of mouth, tape trading, and now modern technology allows us this universal database on wrestling. Just your thoughts on that?
I think it's incredible. I think for someone like me, I keep I have a list of notes on my phone with every single match, every single one. So there's stuff that hasn't been uploaded to Cage Match, but I know so many people that don't do that. And they always say to me when they see me updating mine, going, "Oh, I wish I did that." I'm like 8 years in, I can't remember all my matches that I've had. Like I'd have to go through every bit of social media, every date in my calendar, and even then they probably wouldn't be able to upload it. So the fact that even though they're not all on there, there's that helper that people can just go back, look through their careers. It's, from somebody that does it for myself as well. And I like to have a look and see, just if things have been updated right, or what names I've been put down as. Like I've got like 3 different aliases on there from when I did that stupid name loss gimmick at Sacrifice. Ironically, name loss gimmick at Sacrifice. And I'm on there as Adonis Artemis at one point, and I'm like, well, that was never my name, but fair enough. Like, I'll take it. So sometimes there's a humor to it, but I almost like that they have kept a kind of forum style to it as well. It's like a really old style website when you go on it, like, especially if you use it on your phone, you've got to zoom in to just click one button because it's all in the tiny little icons. But it's incredible. And it's incredible that they've kept it going as long as they have, because it's very easy for people to just shut off and go, okay, well, social media's around. People can keep up that way. Who cares? Shut it off.
It makes my job a lot less fucking hard when I can be like, oh, look, there's this match that happened in Manchester in 2008. It's a cool little thing. Thank you, Lord above, for the database. makes me a lot easier to do this. But you know what? Yeah. All in, AW. We were talking, obviously, back then, and the show hadn't happened yet. And it was leading up to it. I have many memories from that. The bank account attests to it with that big fucking turnbuckle there, signed by the whole bloody roster.
Yeah.
That was a very expensive requirement.
I can imagine, but it's also, if you're there, it's memorabilia at that point, and it's something physical you can have. Like, it's the same as when people were buying, like, the All-In 25 T-shirts and the 24 T-shirts. Like, they're great for, like, working out and chilling in, but they're also great memorabilia to just go, look, I was here.
I know, yeah, and it's a great addition to the studio. Actually lights it up and play it with all the memorabilia. So I like it. But the thoughts on the show, the first All-In to happen in London, AW's first international show, here in the United Kingdom. Looking back, your thoughts on that original All-In show for AEW?
I loved the first one. I really enjoyed the first one. I remember it more than the second one because I was driving that day, so I wasn't drinking as much. So the second one's a bit more blurry, but for me, the first one, I love MJF. MJF is so good in my eyes. He's just one of my favorites currently, full stop. I could watch him to death. I could watch him just pick up a microphone and talk for 10 minutes. He doesn't need to wrestle. That would do me. So to see him not once, but twice, and then have that story throughout the night as well, that was really cool that they managed to. And I think just having 90,000 people in that I mean, I know people have come out and gone, it's only 81,000. Okay, fine. It's 81,000 people under one roof for one show at a company that's considered the smaller one. That to me doesn't scream small. Like, I won't get into a debate on tribalism because it really annoys me. I think we've had this conversation before, and I'm like, that is just pointless. You love wrestling or you don't. you like one kind, you don't. That's it. But with that first show, I just thought it was an incredible spectacle. I do think that it attracted some people that weren't fully AEW fans. So maybe that's why there was maybe only like 50, 60 on the second show. Maybe that was just the decision they made, was to just lessen it. You know, Wembley sometimes are an absolute nightmare with how many tickets they can sell despite the size of the stadium.
Mm-hmm.
But I just felt like that was a gear shift for him. And I think it's opened up so many doors, especially in the UK for this scene. Like already, there's only Forbidden Door this year. It's only at the O2. We're still doing a massive Forbidden Door weekend. Rev Pro are running a 2-day show. Riot Cabaret are running the Friday show as normal. I think Ceasefire are on the Thursday. Hustle are guaranteed to probably run shows over that weekend. I think last year they had it where Hustle, North and Attack did a joint triple header, which is wild. Some people were getting 3 bookings in one day and then later on traveling to go and watch AEW. Like, that's insane. That's ridiculous. And it creates so much work, so many opportunities. So on the selfish side of it, yeah, it's incredible. I would quite happily have them do it every single year. In terms of an entertainment standpoint, as a fan, the shows have not disappointed me. I've never left there going, oh, that was rubbish, or that could have been done better. Like, I've watched shows on TV and I've gone, I could have switched that off halfway through and not been bothered. Whereas that's never given me that feeling of, you know, going there live, especially sitting in a box and watching it with a great view was always a benefit. That's helpful to any degree. But yeah, they've both been incredible. The second one was ridiculous. Is that main event between Danielson and Swerve is just one of my favorite matches I've ever seen live. Potentially one of my favorite matches, full stop.
Yeah, man. Like, that match, I was there as well. So it's either that or Sting's last match for me, for seeing in person. Yep. I'm like, oh, they're both so good. They're both really so good. But I do want to touch upon what you said about how the British scene got that little boost, like that Mania weekend style, right? People getting so many bookings, so many shows and all that.
Yep.
I feel like maybe people may agree, people may disagree, but since that All-In show with that boost, it really boosted indie wrestling within the United Kingdom to, like, I don't know, this sort of new level of, like, where more people understand who's leading the scene, who these stars are. Oh, who's that? That's a man like Darius. Now he's on TNA because he was on a Progress show, Rev Pro show.
Yep.
All these people getting that starlight appearances. Does it really show the power of when bigger companies come to areas like the UK or international waters for other shows, of that spotlight for local talent?
Yeah, I think it's definitely helped garner attention. I mean, I'm very fortunate to know quite a lot of people that I've met throughout, and, you know, they're all just great people. So to see them shining especially is fantastic. Like people like Darius, Leon Slater, who have been nothing but lovely to me. And they didn't have to be lovely to me backstage. They could have said hello, shook hands, gone separate ways. But, you know, Harley Hudson's another one, just been signed for well over a year, but made the debut and is now a permanent fixture on TNA. The most lovely people are getting every reward that they've worked so hard for. And I think it has helped just shine a bit more of a light. I also think Rev Pro's great relationship with AEW has massively helped too, because you get the star power coming into those shows. Like, for example, Mercedes Moné coming into a show the other week to face Kanji, like the spotlight that's been put on Kanji because of that. And everyone knew how great Kanji was. You know, you'd have to be blind to not see it. But to get that on a global scale now, and then, like you say, you see it with GCW. You look at CPF have been out to GCW, Leon Slater, man like Darius, like you say, constantly going out there. You know, Blue Cane even, who was technically built in the UK. So as silly and as stupid as it was genius and it worked and it got so much attention. And it's great. It's great for the business. And I really do hope that WrestleMania comes over at some point, because I think it will just explode even more. You know, I don't think it's a surprise that there's been so many overseas barriers broken. You look at Archie Cole, for example, going out to Noah recently. You had Mark True and Kieran Lacey out in Noah recently. So people are going overseas to Japan. People are going overseas to Canada. Like Charles Crowley's got a great relationship with Smash out in Canada. All the guys and girls that are going out to America now that are potentially being signed, the WWE UK tryouts that happened recently with the imminent brewing of NXT Europe. Just everything's booming and it's exploding. And yes, that means there's so much more interest, which means there's so much more competition. So on a professional level, it can be a kick, because how much talent is on the scene, and you're talking maybe 12 to 15 spots on a card every show. How are you going to break in when I could probably list you about 50 of the best wrestlers in the world that all are still working on this scene? Like, how does someone like me break into like a Rev Pro or a Progress or a Riot Cabaret? You can't sit there and shrug your shoulders and go, I should be, nobody deserves it. You're either lucky or you're not, or you're one of the most talented in the UK or you're not. And I'm certainly not one of the most talented in the UK yet. I'd love to be. But I couldn't honestly, hand on heart, sit here and go, I deserve XYZ spots over all the people that have got them now, because they're incredible. And I'm lucky enough that I've got to work with a few of them and learn from them. I
mean, all we do is we grab all the promoters, we put them in a bar, we get them pished, and we hand your tape in the middle. Like, hey, look at this.
That is the plan. And I'm almost gutted that, like, when it comes to the London scene, and I used to help out at Progress and Riot a few times, a lot of them do go out for drinks and have a great social event. And I always get invited. And, you know, just living like an hour and a half away, I'm like, oh, I've got to get a train, or I've got to drive home and sort this ring out. Like, I can't just dip out. And I wish I could do more often. And maybe that's something I need to work on and get myself out there a little bit more. I do feel I could probably do more. But in the grand scheme of things, like I said, I mean, recently, Nico Angelo's made it onto Progress after probably 7-8 years of graft. I'm sat here 3.5, coming up 4 years in, and I kind of look at it and I go, okay, I've still got years yet, because he's ridiculous. How he's only just got on there, I'll never know. To me, he's top 10, without a doubt.
He is very good. I mean, I remember at the Riot Cabaret show last year, I went out drinking with, you know, James and Gio, corner of Ceasefire and corner of Riot. And I was like, how the fuck's this happened? Like, I'm just some guy in a bar with like a pull-out couch and a laptop. It's like, fuck me, this is weird.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
It's incredible. But wrestling brings people together, doesn't it? Common interest.
Absolutely. And I wonder if you agree with this statement as well, Chris. Do you think wrestling is a medium that translates language? You know, you don't have to know somebody's language to understand wrestling in Japan or abroad. It is that medium that transcends language.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think, and the easy way you can see is by how many people come from various different countries that work against each other, having met each other for the first time. They may not speak the same language. I haven't had that firsthand experience, but I know of friends that have told me how difficult it can be or how easy it can be. So I do think it can be done. I think it's easily done. And I don't think you need to speak every language in the world to be able to have a wrestling match with everybody in the world, because you can demonstrate a lot of what you want to do and people will go, oh, you mean that? We call that this, or we do it this way. So, you know, we're all trained. We all get trained to do certain moves and to break down the barrier of kayfabe a little bit when you're sort of talking it through beforehand. You know, if people don't understand it, they're stupid if they don't go, well, how do I do that? Because they're putting their body on the line. You should kind of know what you're doing. So as soon as people go, well, how? And you show them, they're like, oh, yeah, of course, that thing. So
where it's so simple. I mean, it's some people think wrestling works one way, some people think the other. You have so many people on the internet saying, I know how to run a promotion, just book them as that way. That would make them the champion. That would make me money. I was like, okay, there's other factors, there's other this and that and that. And they're like, yep. What's that? And like, point proven.
Yep. And it's so funny as well, because a lot of promoters on the lower scale, for example, and I use lower scale in the most respectful way possible, the companies that aren't your Rev Pro, your Progress, your ICWs, the ones that are talked about more on a global scale, or at least a countrywide, UK-wide scale, the ones that you might have heard of maybe once or twice from a wrestler posting about them. A lot of the mentality behind some of them is, oh, well, if I book, say, insert big name as seen on WWE UK and pay however much their rate is, I'm going to sell out this crowd, no problem. Doesn't always work that way. Some people don't care for wrestling on TV. They just take their kids to a local community center and they like the guys that they see that weekend. And in other promotions, it works like gold dust, and they will sell out that venue. So it's such a hard one to gauge. So I think promoting is probably harder in certain aspects than the wrestling side of it, because don't get me wrong, it is so hard working in front of a quiet crowd or a lower crowd, but that's what separates the great wrestlers from the good wrestlers, is how they can get that noise coming out. Promoters, you can advertise, you can fly to your heart's content, you can post on social media, you can leave months in between shows. Sometimes you just don't draw very well, and sometimes it's out of your hands. Sometimes it's to do with the financial climate of the UK. Sometimes it's to do with, I don't know, people are going on holiday because it's school summer holidays and your regular crowd aren't there to come down and watch it. Sometimes it's to do with, maybe your advertisements on socials haven't hit. So I think in some aspects that's harder because there's more of an element of unknown. And you're right, all the fans that sit there and go, oh, well, I would do it this way. Well, great. What happens if they get injured that show? What do you do then? You know, like, it's very easy to sit there and say someone deserves it because X, Y, Z. Well, the champion probably deserves it because of everything that they've done behind the scenes for that company that you don't see.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they're very over with, you know, Jey Uso's typical example. How many people on Twitter sit there and go, oh, he's terrible, he should never be world champion? Well, I see 58,000 of those little glasses and the Yeet t-shirts and the glow sticks and everybody doing their arms up and down on his entrance every single week. So that's probably why he's the champion. You know, this.
I mean, even when I was in WrestleMania in Vegas for the superstore, the big thing that they sell all their merchandise with, like people were buying signed Yeet glasses for like $250, like signed titles, signed turnbuckles, and it's like, I understand you may not like him as a wrestler, but you can't deny that he's earned his spot through how much he's bringing money into the company, eyes-wise, and especially the kids as well. Like, that's another, like, the dude's over. People may not like it. I think him winning the Rumble was amazing. I didn't expect it. I was surprised. I was caught off guard. But sometimes wrestling fans don't want to be proven wrong. They want to be smarter than they think they are.
Yeah, and I always think it's incredible how many people sit back and go, oh, it's so predictable. Everything's so predictable. I could have told you that would have happened. I knew John Cena was going to win the title at WrestleMania. I just knew it. It's so predictable. But yet when something like Jey Uso winning the Rumble, when you add CM Punk, Roman Reigns, John Cena, Randy Orton all in there at that point, you know, nobody's going to sit there and go, oh, I expected Jey Uso to win it, but they were the first ones to complain about it. Well, why have you done that? The obvious choice was Cena. It's like, 5 minutes ago, you were whinging about the fact that everything's too predictable, and now it's an issue when you get surprised. It's the same with JCJ not winning the NXT title this week. There was a big meltdown on it. The amount of accounts I keep on muting on Twitter or X or whatever it's called now because it's become a complete cesspit.
Oh,
it's just want to see what my friends are up to, and I've got to deal with half of the wrestling community from America, people that I'll never meet that have got like 50,000 followers for no random reason other than the fact that they just bitch about WWE all the time, whinging about it. And I'm like, why is this here?
It is very draining. I think the best way to describe it is that, you know, I only use Instagram because Twitter, fuck it.
I'm getting to that point.
I mean, I know the bird's down there, but I never used it in the first place. I just like to say that's a little mascot or whatever. I don't know. It's just a little the rest like he's just there, unpaid intern getting work experience. Fuck it, that's what he is. But like I'm always trying to learn about wrestlers on the indie scene, seeing who's who. That's personally interesting. And you get some fucking accounts. It's like, oh, look at the crowd for AEW, or WWE's doing bad booking, or Triple H is not, you know, doing this for me. And it's like, well, the companies are making money. They're running shows. The stadiums are selling out. Why are you bitching and moaning?
They're paying people full-time wages to live their dream. You know, it's the long and short of it. Like, regardless of whether, they're the enemy, they're trying to break down AEW and book shows on the same day. Okay. And on the other side, it's, they're the franchise. They just pay, they're the franchise, the new ones. Oh, it's dad's money that's funding everything. And, you know, they're going to go bust soon. No, they're not. No, they're not going bust anytime soon. The man's a billionaire. He could probably fund it until he goes to the grave. Like, the amount of companies they own, they're not going anywhere anytime soon. And it's fantastic wrestling. And on the other side, you've got fantastic sports entertainment. You can pick and choose which one you prefer. And if you like both, even better. And the amount of jobs it creates, not even just on a wrestling level, on a production level, on a ring crew level, on a behind the scenes, the gear making. You look at, it's no secret that there's so many more wrestling gear makers coming around over the last few years, because it's a market that is desperate for work. It's creating jobs and it's making people earn a living and earn a great living. Wrestling's never been good with money. So for them to earn a great living in a financial state across nearly every country that's just dwindled, I just don't see, either you like it or you don't, either you watch it or you don't. I don't understand the whole, we must want them to burn to the ground because I prefer this product over this product.
I mean, you can have your favorites. You can have what you like. I made it no excuse. I mean, the merch behind me says it for itself. I personally like AEW, but I'll happily go to the WWE show. I went to WrestleMania for fuck's sake. It's not like I'm going to go there and just sit there arm crossed and be like, I could have had an Osprey match right now.
Yeah,
like, I went there because I like wrestling and didn't enjoy it. And even on the indie level, people are weird. People have their favoritism, but I also think people don't want to be wrong. They like the thing they think, and that's the way they will be. But you know what? Fuck them. Let's move on from that. The UK itself, we spoke about it recently. The WWE UK tryouts. I remember I saw it on BBC News on Instagram, and I believe Triple H was also on this morning as well, like in the past.
Yeah.
And that's kind of insane as well, just to see that echelon of British wrestling being in such a public medium like the BBC and STV, or ITV if you're down south. Sorry, I'm Scottish.
Yeah.
And just amazing to see. But obviously, NXT Europe. What's your thoughts as an independent wrestler on the UK scene about that starting up?
I'm going to upset a lot of people because I know that a lot of the UK indie wrestling fans don't like the idea and they felt that NXT UK killed the scene. You can have that opinion if you want. I felt like it was the start of the revival because, after all those huge names have left, your favorite stars now came in to fill their shoes. And without those guys leaving and being signed, would there be a man like Doris, a Leon Slater, a Luke Jacobs? Probably, yes, because they're ridiculous talents and they would have forced their way through. But there's also a chance that they get swallowed up because they don't have the opportunities, because the opportunities haven't opened. So for me, I think it's nothing but positive. I know so many people that used to work at NXT UK that lost a full-time livelihood by it closing down. I know people that are currently signed to WWE that are living it up, and NXT UK was one of the best things and the best pathways for them. I know people that have been released that are working on the same shows as me now that are having the most fun. And I know people that were at that tryout that are hoping to get a full-time line of work that means they can quit a 9-to-5 or, not have to work part-time alongside wrestling. Mm-hmm. It's only a good thing, whether or not you can see it that way, because you might not get to watch your favorite wrestler at 5 different shows on 5 different weekends in a row. I can understand how upsetting that would be on when you built up an emotional connection over 5 years, but also as a fan, of their work, shouldn't you be wanting the best for them? And surely the best for them is a full-time contract with health benefits, with enough of a wage where they might be able to buy their own house, quit their full-time job, So I can see both sides. For me, it's positive. People get opportunities. And again, the revolving door. So for someone on my level where I'm trying to break towards those upper echelon worth of shows, people move on, gaps open up, and people have to fill those gaps. And, I would love to be one of those names if that does ever happen. If it doesn't, I've just got to keep scratching and clawing until I can get on them. That's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you were to get into NXT Europe and, you get to be with the WWE and, say I couldn't interview again because I have to go through WWE's team, I would still be absolutely happy for you to achieve that goal and still share your stuff. I'm not going to be bitter and moody and sit around with a pint of Tennent's in the corner. I do that already. But I'd be happy
whilst doing it instead.
Yeah, exactly. I'd be happy for you to achieve your dream and that goal, because that's what we should be. We should be supporting people getting their dreams, no matter what company, what goals, or what path they do to get that. They've achieved and they've made what they want to do ever since they were young, or where they fell in love with wrestling in the first place. But for NXT Europe, obviously, and with NXT UK, it operated outside of the BT studios, and then it was a traveling thing for a wee bit before this global shutdown. How would you like to see NXT Europe work? Would you like to see it be like a multi thing across different countries, or have a base home, or work with other promotions? How would you like to see it work?
So I think they've still got the PC in the UK. That never shut down. That's still there. That's where they did the tryouts out of. So I think that they'll use London probably as their home base, as like inverted commas. The way that because they've announced it as Europe, and you look at Spain, you look at Germany, you look at Sweden, you look at Norway even breaking through, the amount of talent, the Portuguese scene's on the rise at the minute. I keep on seeing posts from Portugal. I know Dave Francisco went out there the other week, and it's brilliant. Like, even on an internal UK level, the Welsh scene is arguably one of the strongest. I got a booking back end of last year to go out and work on a Welsh show, and me and Artemis were literally just like, why us? But yes, within a heartbeat. Like, is that good, that attractive? I think that they'll do it similar to the way that they've transitioned NXT now, where they travel. You know, they're not just doing shows out of the Performance Center anymore. They're traveling for these shows. You know, I think they've booked a show. One of the uproars recently was that they booked in Philadelphia to do their shows out of there. You know, so I think they'll do it the same way. I think maybe they'll have like a home base where they'll go, okay, a lot of our tape stuff, or if they do live shows, they'll be from there. But we might travel out to Spain and do a show there. We might travel up to Scotland. We might go out to Ireland. We might do one in Cardiff. We might, you know, there's so many options they could do it. I think they may as well just open up NXT UK if they were just going to base it out of the UK. So the fact that they've added Europe to it, I think, is a big giveaway.
I mean, bring back the belts. Bring back the fucking belts, please, for the love of God. Those belts are beautiful.
Yep. And I don't think they will. I would love for them to, but I think they'll probably go to more like a modernized European championship, which will probably disappoint everybody. Although, that being said, the last two belts they released with the Evolve titles are beautiful. So maybe they would just follow that suit, but it'll all come out. It'll all be yet to be seen. You know, I don't think it's even been fully confirmed yet, so it might not even happen again. I know it's been delayed for the last 2 or 3 years, so it might get delayed again. Selfishly, I hope they do bring it through, because it's another chance for us as fans to go and watch great wrestling on a local level.
Absolutely. I mean, as long as it doesn't go the way of Duke Nukem Forever, where it's delayed for ages and then it releases and it's a shit game. Like, let's avoid that one right there. But obviously, with NXT, we've seen recently is more of the entertainment side with shows like LFG, having the legends coach this new generation of talent, going into then hopefully getting an NXT contract. If we could see that on a UK level, I want to know which 4 UK wrestling legends would you like to be the coaches? Because obviously for the American show, it was Undertaker, Mickie James, Booker T, and Bubba Ray Dudley. For 4 British wrestlers, you would like to see be the coaches for a possible LFG show?
Are we including Ireland in the term UK here, or are we just going straight UK?
I'll be nice. We'll include Ireland.
Lovely. Fit Finlay and William Regal are the first 2, without question. Without question. It then gets harder. Because then do you want... Oh, that's a tough question. Because you could even go back again. You know, I trained under Marty Jones a couple of weeks ago, which was a surreal experience, learning that sort of world of sport, professional wrestling style from a living legend. And I'm working a show for him next month, which is surreal to me, because he's from where all my extended family are from in Oldham. So it's real close to home. It's at the football stadium for the club I support. So I think on a selfish level, because he's booked me and I have a good relationship with Marty, I'm putting Marty Jones in there. And also for the fact that he's got one of the best minds for the business as well. Like, let's not beat around the bush on that side. Oh, I've kind of done a world of sport style theme here, haven't I? Or like a 80s, 90s style. So that kind of makes me want to put Kendo in there. But Do you know what? No. In terms of the modern day side of things, Wild Boar.
Yeah.
One of the greatest minds for feedback, for coaching, one of the best workers. Actually, no, I probably would say the best talent I've ever shared a ring with. Him and Mark Haskins tied without a doubt for very different arguments. But, even Mark Haskins could easily get a spot on there. There's so many names. This is such a terrible question because I could give you 15. But yeah, let's go with Marty Jones, Fit Finlay, William Regal, Wild Boar. And Wild Boar, like I said, just surreal to be in the ring with, surreal to speak to. When I not even had started wrestling, I was watching him on the telly. To be stood opposite him in a ring was one of the most wild experiences of my life, and one that I'll be grateful for. If it never happens again, that's fine. I'll take what I had with him, the 10 minutes or whatever it was that it was. A very last minute thrown together match after I'd just done a half an hour match with Jay Joshua beforehand as well. To be told by the promoter, Scotty Rourke's ill, do you want to face Wild Boar? And me go in, how much prep time do I have? And he's like, I don't know, half hour. Shit. Okay. You don't need prep time with Boar. He'll get you there and you'll have a hell of a time whilst doing it.
Yeah. Boar's definitely a good one. I had him on the show in the first season back in 2022, and seeing what he's done for British wrestling in general, wholesome, beneficial. And I know he's a dad now as well.
Yeah.
Hope he's doing well. He's a good man for the British scene, 100%.
One of the most incredible, like I said, one of the most incredible minds for the business. And yeah, just surreal. My experiences with him have been surreal. I remember I had a match with Endakara in December last year, and I got positive feedback from him, and this close to crying. I was like, this is ridiculous. And of course there was other feedback and learning curves and things like that, and stuff that I hold very close to heart and will improve on. It wasn't all sunshine and rainbows. It never is. You're never having the perfect match, but to have some positive words and have him take the time to watch one of my matches because he'd worked me a few months before, and to just help out talent that I don't train under Boar. I think I've trained under him once. Maybe not even once. It might have even been different New Wave coaches, but I don't have that relationship that maybe like Leon Cage, Shane Hook, Harrison Bennett, and all the guys out on the Welsh scene have, where he would watch their matches, and Dakara, the same thing. He's from over in Sweden, traveled over for a UK tour. We worked together. Of course, he might have known Boar a little bit more, but that tells you the man that he is, that he'd finished his match and he went, cool, let's watch the rest of the show, see what's happening, give feedback to people that want it. Tells you everything about the man. Just wants to see the scene get better. So yeah, those will be my 4, I think.
Good choice, brother. Good choice indeed. Now, of course, I know, Chris, you are a champion as well. You hold a few belts, but I want to talk about one that you held in the past, the Square One Academy Championship. I know.
That's the first ever one.
Good belt. It's a belt that I've had on the show multiple times. Obviously, yourself, a former champion, Tony Sin, Big Wade, and current champion as well. I've had on it. It's a belt that's had a lot of history. When you see what that belt is now, the names that have held it since yourself, what do you think of the belt's legacy?
For me, selfishly, I am a big fan of it because I'm good friends with a lot of the people that held it after me. So I was the 3rd champion. It got introduced as UBW's new academy belt when Square One became a thing. And also, on a selfish level, I'm the first one to have gone from the Square One championship to winning the UBW British Heavyweight Championship. So I'm just going to give myself that little plug in there as well. And only with faint hopes that Tony Sin is watching this somewhere in Australia and he will be throwing his phone as soon as I say that. So, because that will wind him up. Because, I just, like I said, selfishly, being the 3rd one and watching it from pre-COVID, it was the academy shows were free audience attendance. We might get maybe 20, 30 people in the door at most. Very, very much an academy show. When I got the belt, it was used on the main shows. I got given the belt and Paul Ash, who was promoting the shows, goes, well, we'll give you the opening match on the card on every main show. That'll be your defense. Hopefully get people to go to more Square One shows. So to the point where we needed to find a new venue for Square One shows, and we had 80 people in there, and then we were selling out that venue. So then we moved to a school in Stevenage where we can hold nearly 200 people, and we've done an academy show in front of 200 plus people. So for that level of growth, and again, that's not come from me. I'm not going to sit here and go, this is everything to do with my reign as champion. It's to do with the guy that's pumping money consistently into the academy to watch us all get better, to go from Sunday training sessions in a community hall to now a 3-story, 10,000 square foot strength and conditioning gym with a wrestling ring at the bottom. You know, that level of growth in less than 5 years is wild. And there's no surprise that the shows are doing better for that. In terms of lineage, you know, I didn't have the longest reign. I didn't have the most defenses. But I do feel like I was the one that got given the ball to carry that championship and make it more relevant in that company, because the other champions before me weren't afforded the opportunities that I was of defending it every month. And because of that, maybe that's the reason why they retired early, and just after they had that title run, they went, wrestling's not for me, that's fine. And I think maybe I would have done the same thing if I didn't have that opportunity to go in there and work on a main show against some of the people that I did. And all that did was help me learn and elevate me to the point where it was, okay, your turn now, Leo Edwards, who then took it, ran with it. Then it was Tony Sin, then Harrison Leon, then I think Big Wade, and now Denzel Mack. And just more and more people are holding it. And that belt has still got my fake tan stain in the middle of it as well from when I held it, which I always laugh at because I accidentally dropped it on there and tried cleaning it, and it just caused a bit of a stain on one of the plates. Very hidden. Like it's in like the crease of one of the outlines. It's not anything that damaged it. But I told Denzel about that the other week. He was buzzing with it. He was like, oh, okay, he's got some history then, does it? But yeah, it is really proud to see that it's gone on that far. But yeah, that's just brought back some memories from when I didn't even have my own set of gear and a skinny lad walking around with a sword for no reason, basically.
Hey, time moves forward, evolution happens for us, and your tan stain's still on the belt.
Yep, that will stay there forever. I've told Denzel not to clean it off and not to even attempt cleaning it off.
Oh, that's the real heel move. If he cleans it, you have to go get it back just to put the tan line back on it. I mean,
do you know what? I was talking to the promoter about that the other day. I was like, it is a real shame that that's not an attainable goal for like a lot of people to just go back and have a crack at the academy belt, because it's, you know, and I'm not saying that as in I want to do that, because then I'm taking away opportunities from people that deserve them. That championship is to elevate people coming through the academy. But it's such a gorgeous title. It's the beautiful red strap on it, red leather strap, so it stands out compared to a lot of others. Bright silver plate with the red logo. It just is a stunning championship. It just looks good to hold. So on that selfish level, I want to hold it again. But
I mean, I've had so many champions for the belt. I kind of want it for my collection, just to be in the studio. Just to be like,
get a replica for it. I could probably put you in touch with the guy who designed it. I think it was Truman Roswell that designed it, if I'm right.
As long as you put a tan line in it, so it's like the actual thing. Maybe we could talk some business afterwards. But obviously some belts you hold right now: the Limited Wrestling Championship, the UBW British Heavyweight Championship, and obviously the Saints of Sacrifice Tag Team Championships you hold with Artemis. You are on day 97 of the Unlimited Wrestling belt as of time of recording. The UBW, you are on day 118 and 356 days with the Saints of Sacrifice Championship. So a very amount of days. When you look at each belt, do you feel like each belt is an evolution of yourself, like a proving point? Yeah,
drastically so. Especially more so that they're my 3 home promotions, you know. And I think so with UBW, that's where I got my start through square one. United were the first company to take a chance on me outside of UBW, and then Sacrifice came shortly after. And as a charity show, and we're raising money for charity, that's close to home anyway. But for 3 very different reasons, those championships hold a special place in my heart. For the United Championship, the work that I put in to turn up on day 5, I turned up, I worked a match against Harry Sefton. Both of us were fairly brand new to the scene. It was an opening match of the card. We did really well. Both of us have been brought back and have been regular fixtures at United. And that's become my home, like my home away from home. It's only 40 minutes away from my house. So the venue's a real home leg for me, closer than any other that I work for. And the guys that run it have constantly supplied me with all the tools and all the opponents that I will need to develop as a wrestler. My entire future-proof reign was just incredible. Like, I faced Jay Joshua in my first defense. I faced Wild Boar in my second defense. I faced Spike Trevay in the third, I believe. I then faced Mark Haskins in a non-title match. I then, October, faced Tommy Kyle in a street fight, something that both of us always wanted to do and had an absolute blast with in the main event. Like, I faced incredible names and learned so much from that. To be the first one to have held every championship in that company and be the Grand Slam champion is special. And I'm the only person that probably will have unified the belts just by the way that that storyline happened with Artemis leaving and me facing Artemis. That one's ridiculously special. That one's one of those ones where I sit there and I go, do you know what? Yeah, I did fucking graft for this. Like, I really grafted. I stood up against people that should have swallowed me whole, and I managed to keep there and stay to it. I'm not going to say I'm on their level. I'm not. I'm far from it. They carried me through those matches. But the teachings that I got from those matches, ridiculous. Even to the point that, like, even now at United as the main champion, they've gone, here you go, first defense, Brendan White. Just the owner of New Wave. You know, what a great person to sit there, talk to, work with. One of the best coaches. We did a seminar before the show. That's incredible. And then Harrison Bennett's free on the next one. Let's put you in a match against him. Brilliant. And then we had a belter of a match that just turned into a fight. And now I'm doing a Falls Count Anywhere with him at the next show. And we're going to beat the hell out of each other again. Like, these are all things where it's just, I'm being given the ball. If I mess it up, it's on me because they are giving me everything to succeed. And it was really down to me to mess this up because I'm going to get carried in as much help as I possibly can with these opponents. So, you know, they're literally just pushing me for success. With UBW, it's home. It's where everything started. Me and Artemis had a record-breaking 600 tag day reign. So history was already there. And again, like I said to you, I'm the first person that went from the Square One champion to the British Heavyweight champion. So on an emotional scale, that was a real special one for me. And also the fact that it was a Rumble win. It was because the title got vacated. So it was won in a Rumble. The winner of the Rumble got it. I'd never won a Rumble before. All of my friends were there that I'd trained with and that I've come through with. You know, Harrison Leon was there. Tommy Kyle was there. Artemis was there. My brother Arthur Scurro was there. You know, it was the most wholesome thing to have that celebration in the ring afterwards. Hugo Bloom as well presented me with it, the guy who owns the company and has pumped so much money in and has put so much faith behind me to get better. He was the one that presented me with it. It was just a very wholesome day. And with Sacrifice, for very different reasons, Hustle Malone and Ace, who promote it, have always said to me, I don't want you to do the same stuff you do everywhere else. I don't want you to be a wrestler. I want you to do something different, play around with it, explore it. They were the first people that gave me loads of promo time. They took away my surname and went, cool, now you've got to wrestle as other people. See if you can do it. And, you know, that just gave me a different world of confidence. And that whole storyline went full circle with me winning my name back, reigniting the tag team with Artemis, who won the Rumble. And we go after the Saints of Sacrifice Tag Championships and win it in a ladder match. Again, a childhood dream. So all three of the championships I hold now have got the most special place in my heart for, and I'll always try and put on a belt when I'm defending them, just because I think that in my eyes, a promoter giving me a championship is a very well-earned pat on the back, but it's also, especially for United and UBW at the minute, I'm the standard bearer in as many terms. You know, they're bringing in big names that are bigger than me without a shadow of a doubt. Like my first defense of that title was Spike Trevay again. So, you know, I'm not the standard bearer in comparison to someone like him. But when people look at a poster and see that guy's the champion and they have no idea about wrestling, that's where it becomes. So I've got to be the best and put on the best matches that I can. And with Sacrifice, we're the standard of the tag division. You know, so we've got to maintain that. And I know Artemis has announced that she's taking a step back and she's only running Sacrifice at the minute, which is a shame. So for me, it's again, that's where we get to have fun. That's where we get to be best mates again and go on the road again and travel to shows and, mess about like we have done the past few years and have a blast with it.
It speaks as well of how people trust you, Chris, because of I think your work ethic speaks for itself, how you present yourself. People trust you, and they trust you very well because you're a good man. You do great stuff.
Thank you,
I don't
man.
see why anyone would not trust you. But I'm now going to throw a heavy question, which might think you're going to beat the fuck out of me for this. Out of the 3 belts, what is your favorite design?
Oh,
I'll just hide under the desk. What do you think?
favorite design for me is the United Championship, just because it's different. The other two are circular based, and I'm not upsetting anybody there because the UBW belt I think was again designed by Truman Roswell, but the other two were Hellfire Designs, the guy who did TNA's designs for their new influx of belts that they did. An incredible graphic design. I think, to be honest, he's designed majority of the titles around Brit Rest that are coming out nowadays. He's all over the place. But I'm going to say that United Championship, the only thing that makes it close is the fact that it is like layered with plates to make that design. So I think it comes out. I don't know where they are. I think they might be in my spare room. I should have got them prepared so we could show them off. But it's a real cool, like sort of wings to it. Big United logo in the middle with the world banner on it. You know, really impressive world championship. It just weighs about 25 kilos. So to lug it around and to lift it over your head, what makes it worse is the guy who designed it obviously didn't order it to come out that way, but the layered plating has forced it to. The future-proof championship he designed, in the words of the promoter, oh, I wanted something similar to the big gold. Well, yeah, you've got it, because that also weighs a ton. But yet, this small 82 kilo frame of me had to carry both of them for a month until I vacated the future-proof. I did a match against Brendan White where I defended both of them. I tried to lift them both above my head. I got to about there before I went, do you know what? I'm going to drop one. Let's just put them on the floor and do the pose that way. Unfortunately, the photographer went to the balcony and caught both of them. I was just like, I'm sorry, man. Like I was wearing hot stuff, so my hands are all slippery and the leather was just slipping out. And when they weigh that much, so that's the only thing that I would say makes it close. But in terms of design, the United one. But again, they're all gorgeous belts. The Saints of Sacrifice Championships were the first holders of these new designs, so they're in pristine condition. The UBW Championship, they have the exact same design on a lot of their belts. This one's just got a much bigger plate because it's the main championship. So again, gorgeous, gorgeous, gorgeous title. It's the tough question, but the fact that it's not circular, the United Wrestling one wins it.
Fair point indeed. And you know, belts are heavy. You know, I've got replicas of the Progress Championship, which I know Lee told me was molded from the same plates, and fuck yeah, that is heavy. How the hell look cheap just carrying that thing all around all the time? Good lord.
Well, that's the thing. When they're sort of like 7 to 10 kilos, I can kind of be like, that makes sense. It's got metal plates on it. It's a championship. It should be enough, like a bit of an issue. When it's the size of like 2 championships in one, and you just that's where it becomes a problem. So that championship is an around the waist job, and I don't like wearing titles around the waist, but you kind of have to with that.
Hey, fair point, Chris. Fair point. But of course, you know, Chris, Ares, god of war, Greek mythology. And we've seen Greek mythology as well, sort of a big resurgence of the video games, God of War with Kratos, television, Percy Jackson and the Lightning Thief, which obviously has Cope as Ares. Dream match. I don't know. Think should happen.
My favorite wrestler growing up. So yes, definitely my dream match, without a doubt. I don't see it being possible, unfortunately. I would love for it to have happen or have happened, but I have lived that match over in Dream World 100 times, so I'm content with that.
Hey, fair point there. We'll take that. And obviously as well, I don't know if you're familiar with this, but obviously Scotland, Edinburgh, we have the Fringe Festival, a performance festival that showcases arts from around the world. Mythos Ragnarok is a Greek performance showing the story of Loki, Balder, the whole Greek, more Norse mythology than Greek. But to see that mythological status, why do you think these mythological stories, such as Greek and Norse, are so popular now?
I think that they're niche. I think it's a very niche market. I think that it goes in peaks and troughs, right? You look at the Gladiator films, for example, they were huge, and then Spartacus came along and the series was huge, and then it died off. and then Gladiator 2's come out recently and it's picking up again. So I think it's peaks and troughs. And I think in the same way that they did Wrath of the Titans not too long ago on film, a great film, again, another like that kind of series came 10, 15 years ago and then it dwindled off. I think special effects obviously help as well. But when you talk about Mythos, they don't get that joy. It's a live performance. It's done in front of you and it's incredible. And again, I know I was very fortunate at one point to send self-tapes off to applying for one of the roles that Charles Crowley used to play because he couldn't do a few of them. And it unfortunately never materialized into anything. And again, I'm not saying that I was the perfect casting because I probably wouldn't have been, but I know a lot of people that do those shows and how successful they've become. And again, it's money in people's pockets through pro wrestling. It is pro wrestling performances. The moves that they do are pro wrestling. They use a pro wrestling ring just without the ropes and the bars. The stage is the same setup. It's incredible. It's again, but for me, like on my selfish side of it, when I did the name change, I was like, well, what defines me better as a wrestler? And for me, I enjoy fighting from underneath. So basically just having the piss beaten out of me a lot of the time. I enjoy bumping. I enjoy selling. That's my art of pro wrestling that I study and want to do more of because I think there's an art to it. I think you look at people like Austin Theory, JD McDonough, Dolph Ziggler, Nick Nemeth now, should I say. The way they sell moves makes it 10 times more impressive. 10 times more impressive. How many people say that Goldberg's got the worst spear in the business, but when they watch the one that he hit on Dolph Ziggler at that SummerSlam when he won the match in like 60 seconds, go, that's one of the best spears I've ever seen. You know, there's a reason what, like, so for me on that side of things, I was like, well, I'll be in a war then, won't I? So I'll go to Ares. And then from that, I was like, well, Ares is the god of war. I've played the God of War game, so I'll start doing the face paint. So now I'm kind of in this weird sort of mesh between like the one side of the God of War and then the other Nordic side of it. And I'm just trying to find a balance. But I've always loved those style of things, those stories that can get told. I think they're timeless. I think there's so many different ways you can tell those stories, which makes it even better, you know, because I don't think there's a flat factual storyline with them. I think they're constantly going to be played with and play out in different ways. There's a reason why they're called myths. So in terms of TV production and storytelling and like what Mythos do, you can play with that so much. So I think it'll always be timeless in the same way that like Gladiator and the Spartan films are all going to be timeless. You'll be able to do them over and over again.
Yeah, no, I can't wait to see Mythos when they come back to Edinburgh. I think it's going to be an amazing performance. I loved seeing, two previous guests of mine, Molly Spartan and Daisy Jenkins, were part of it. I mean, It was fascinating to see a fringe crowd, which PSA, we fucking hate in Edinburgh because they take all our bins and the streets are shit. So, we have to deal with that for about a couple of months. But to see them process wrestling in that way, crowd interactions, there was a bit where Molly Spartan went out to the crowd and said, nobody make the tag. And it's like, well, I get that in wrestling. And then all these people are like, oh, what's that? Do you think it's fascinating to see with what Mythos does of how they sort of bleed the lines between a wrestling fan base and the art fan base with their presentation of Mythos Ragnarok?
Yeah, I personally think that one thing that they do incredibly well is show how physical pro wrestling actually is. And the fact that, yes, you can use pro wrestling to sell storylines like Danielson and Swerve, for example, in front of 90,000 people. You can tell that story there. But you can also go, let's turn this and tell a story that is completely unrelated to your normal pro wrestling whilst doing the exact thing. And I think that's a way that you garner respect from people that normally will turn their nose up at wrestling and go, oh, it's all fake that. Like, how many times do you hear that when you say, oh, I'm a fan of pro wrestling? All the time. Isn't that the one that's fake? Not really. So when you have that up close and personal and you do it in such a different way, I think it's impressive. And also when you used to go and watch like sort of plays or pantomimes and stuff, and you see people take like the death scenes or when they get beaten up and it's like sound effects and then they slowly fall down and it's all like done in a slow motion way to protect it. When you then go up close and personal, hear the loud bang of a slam and just watch this human that you've just watched monologue for 10 minutes go and then do 15 minutes of a choreographed stunt fight. That's more impressive than the guys that are just paid to learn their lines and kind of fake slowly go down. I think it's just going to garner way more respect for the industry and the work that gets put in by these incredible performers on a weekly basis. Or if you're Michael Oku 5 times in one day over Mania weekend, like how your body can do that, never know.
Hey, human body's quite resilient. I mean, have you seen a Scotsman on a night out? Drink.
Yeah, that is true. Valid point.
We're built different. More like Legos than Mega Blocks, but we're built different.
I was going to say, I've got Scottish on my passport, so I'm going to claim rights to being Scottish, even though I've never lived there other than maybe 6 months of my life. Because I was born in Scotland. I was born in Dundee because my parents were in the RAF. So on my passport, I discovered the other week, because I've not used it in so long, that it does say I'm Scottish on there. And I'm like, well, I mean, I've grown up in England my entire life, but I'll take it. So
where the fuck's me Claymore? I should like knight you like Scottish or something like that. That's
yeah. I've got a Scotland shirt with John McGinn on the back from the Euros, so I'm going to claim that as my knighting. I wear it with pride.
Let's be, you are now Scottish. We have that power. We don't give out to many people.
I'll burn the England shirts in the garage later on, just to really make it official.
Chris, man, you're making me tear up now. Fuck. Oh, that's absolutely a darling thing to hear about. Good Lord. But obviously, Greek mythology, the pantheon, Zeus, Ares, Aphrodite, Hermes, Poseidon. Have you ever thought of a pantheon faction?
So, yes and no. Me and Artemis, when we started the Odyssey, was potentially going to lean down that route of like, well, if other people came through, could we expand the Odyssey? Because there was a lot of times where Artemis has a very busy personal life, which is half the reason why she's stepping back now, like work, trying to buy a house, focusing on bodybuilding. And at the time she was doing strongman competitions. So there was sometimes bookings where we'd have to turn them down because she was busy, or even vice versa, where I couldn't do them because I'd booked elsewhere or just couldn't make it work. So we briefly had a conversation of like, we could add more people to it, but they would need that sort of like pantheon name, like you say. And it would have to be the right fit. It'd have to be people that we enjoyed traveling with, enjoyed teaming with, enjoyed working with. So there was a brief conversation about it, but we never really materialized it. We were just having too much fun with what we were doing. We worked as many shows as we could. It was never really an issue where we'd have to say no to a booking because of XYZ, because whatever. Like, it was never one of those where it was happening too often to justify it. It's a conversation that I've had recently with a few people of like, well, when Artemis does take a full step back, what are you going to do tag wise? And at the minute, I'm just focusing on me and my career and what I can do. If promoters turn around and say, I want to put you linked with somebody, brilliant, I'll do it. Like at Ignite, I've just linked with my real life brother, Arthur Scurro, which is brilliant because that's like what you dream of, doing a tag team with your siblings. Is what we grew up doing. Obviously in the kayfabe world, we're not siblings. We've got 2 different surnames, 2 different gimmicks. So they can't advertise us as a brother tag team. And I would never want them to do that because whilst we have 2 separate gimmicks, there's no point going, brothers. It's like the Hardys were the Hardys because that was their surname. On a more local scale, the Rowe brothers are the same. Like, it's so, yeah, for me, I think I've never thought about doing a pantheon. I think for now, I think that's just going to probably run its course. Whether it happens in the future, that would be great. I would like to lead a faction at one point, but I think that's a bucket list thing for everybody, isn't it? To be the Bray Wyatt of a faction or to be the Triple H of a faction. Like, that's what you want. You want that kind of mantelpiece of, I'm the leader. But I also, in the same breath, would never want to be able to stand there and go, I'm the leader of this group. I'm better than everybody in this group. I'm the main guy, because I hated it when I was in that situation. And it was like, I would rather have like 3 or 4 equals that are in a faction together that all work at the same time, different ways. There's no real head of the table, so to speak.
Fair indeed. You know, head of the table, I think it's taken by some other guy called Roman. I don't know what he's
doing. Unfortunately.
Yeah, I don't know what he's doing. I think he's doing
I was just getting the merch made up as well for it. Terrible.
It's just like, I don't know, make it lowercase. There you go. That'll copyright lawyers. Obviously, when we talked before, All In was coming up. Now the time we're talking Forbidden Door's coming up. Coming to London, first time. The crossover show between All Elite Wrestling and New Japan Pro Wrestling as well. And there's a lot of British stars in both companies. Will Ospreay, Nigel McGuinness, New Japan, Gabe Kidd, Zack Sabre Jr. What have you got some crossover matches in mind you would like to see take place at Forbidden Door?
There's so many options though, isn't there? There's so many options. I think the only thing that I want from Forbidden Door, and I wanted it last year at All In, and it didn't happen. We got Nigel McGuinness's return instead, so it made up for it, especially watching Tommy Kyle nearly break into tears at his entrance because that's his all-time favorite and he never thought he would ever watch him live. So that's the only thing that makes it better. But I was desperate to see Michael Oku come out in that scramble last year, and I'm desperate to see Michael Oku finally get his flowers and come out at Forbidden Door. I know he's done AEW and I know he's done Ring of Honor recently. But actually, scratch that, to see Michael Oku and Demira come out. Because both of them deserve that. The work that those two put in together, second to none. So as long as Michael Oku's in a match, they could put whatever else on the card. I'd be a happy guy.
I mean, I like a bit of the universe mode. How does this sound? Three-way submission match. Michael Oku, Nigel McGuinness, and Zack Sabre Jr.
That'd be ridiculous. But then at the same time, like the beauty of Michael Oku is you could do that and it would be 5 stars. But you could also stick him in there with Gabe Kidd and Will Ospreay, and it would also be 5 stars for a very different style, for a completely different style. I do think, though, Nigel McGuinness, Zack Sabre Jr. would be probably a dream crossover match now you bring it up. So that's going to be my answer to your question. That's going to be the proper answer.
Okay, fair point indeed. I'll take it. Nigel McGuinness is a very interesting one. Obviously, when I became a wrestling fan, he was already retired. He was still doing stuff for NXT UK at that point. And to see him come back now, like I was always saying that, like 2024 was the year of rewarding. Sting getting his last match, Bryan getting the title, Nigel returning, Cody finishing his story. For people who may not understand on an international level, well, I'm mostly saying Americans here, because Americans. How important is it as a British fan and a British wrestler to see Nigel McGuinness still going now when he's just had a match at Double or Nothing with Daniel Garcia?
Ridiculously important. Like the foundations of people like Nigel McGuinness, like William Regal, like even on a more recent level, Pac, they have laid the foundations for this scene to exist. So it is massively important to see them still being featured and spoken about as highly as they are. There's a running thing on the indie scene that whenever somebody does the swing back lariat, the whole audience will always shout Nigel as they're swinging back, because that's what it is. That's the man who made it famous. That's who everybody pays homage to when they do that move. It's because Nigel McGuinness laid those foundations. So it's massively important. And it's also just special for people that have grown up and he's been their favorite wrestler. Like I mentioned, Tommy Kyle. For me, I didn't watch too much of Nigel McGuinness growing up to understand it as much as I do now watching his stuff back. Because like I said, I was very blind to the indie scene and Ring of Honor and things like that. When I was younger, it was all at the very lowest point for me would have been TNA. And even then, they were on a major level at that point in sort of the early 2000s. So for someone like him to watch a grown man nearly in tears at seeing an entrance of a wrestler, I think that tells you everything you need to know about how important he is to a lot of people.
Yeah. I mean, hey, Nigel's back. Oasis are back. I think the world's healing.
Yeah. The good times are coming. The good times are coming. Hopefully, we just need the housing crisis to end, make everything more affordable, and the gas and electric bills go down. And then it'll be an all-out summer.
Come on. We've got some wood, a tent. That'll do. To be fair, the weather is shit right now, so maybe not the best for that for a 4th
Well, I don't know. We've got 25 degrees down here, so...
Oh, lucky you. I could see thunderstorms right outside my place because Scotland. It's like that. Yes.
Oh, dear.
I do want to talk about one other company as well. I know you've not worked for them, but we met there in person for the first time ever. A magical moment. Riot Cabaret.
Yep.
A promotion that I got notified about by Tony Sin, telling me about his friend Tommy Kyle was returning. I went to that show over Judas. Best decision I ever made. Because that's a hell of a company. It's a hell of a fucking company.
Yep. That's a dream company for me. And it's another company that I've briefly spoken with both James and Sean about how I get my foot in the door. You know, Artemis made a debut and had 2 matches there. One of my good friends, Bart O'Connor, had 2 matches there as Bart the Dart. Made an incredible gimmick out of it. Unfortunately, he's had to take time away. And I just want it to be, you know, I've not been on the ring crew for the last 2 or 3 shows, so I feel like I've almost dropped off the pedestal of like, you know, I should be next or I want to be next. I also don't think there's ever a world where you can earn a spot over other people because you've done more ring crew jobs and lifted. You know, I'm there to enjoy a show, and, you know, my payment rather than paying for a ticket is to set the ring up and to pack it down at the end of the show. That's my reward. I might even get involved. Like I've been a couple of times, taking a few bumps there. That for me is a dream company. I think the venue is absolutely stunning. The fans are brilliant. The way that they present wrestling is so different to the way that Progress do it and the way that RevPro do it. And yet they use a lot of the same names, but they do it differently. Like you look at Slamble, they're doing a wrestling wedding at this next show on Wednesday. They are constantly moving the needle in different ways. They're doing a fatal doorway because if you can't buy tables, which a lot of the indie scene you'll see, tables are expensive. So a lot of people get doors and put legs on them. Well, why don't you just make it a gimmick? That's what they've done. You know, so they do it in such a beautiful way that is so fun. The 2 guys that run it are spot on. They are just great people. They're always such a joy to be around and to work for. They're always so grateful of your help. You know, they've had a busier, stressful day than the guys on the ring crew, and yet they're nearly on their knees saying thank you to you out the door when they're knackered at like midnight and just want to go out for a few beers. And they're waiting until we're fully finished and they can properly say thank you. Like they don't have to do that. They really don't. So to see it doing really well is a credit to both of them for a start, but it's also a testament to the hard work that they've put in, and they deserve it. And they deserve all the sellout shows that they do. I think they're very low tickets for this Wednesday, so they'll probably sell out again. And yeah, it's just a great show to watch. As somebody that just sits there and watches, like I've seen the vast majority of Riot shows. I've missed the last couple due to work commitments and my parents, my mum being away. So I had my mum's dog looking after her. So I couldn't leave her for 6 or 7 hours in a day on her own. So, you know, the last 2 I've missed, but I'm hoping to go back this Wednesday, help out, get back on the ring crew again, show me face again. But that'll be the dream one for me, I think, to walk out of the Clapham Grand with my theme song and put my gimmick out there. That'd be great. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. But, you know, I've got a few years left in me yet, and hopefully Riot keeps running and I'll be able to do it, and I'll break him down at some point. Keep prodding James on the arm when he's trying to ring announce and just be like, please, me, please.
Yeah. That's pretty much I love the company. It's one of my favorites. You know, I always go to people in the UK and even abroad, like, check this out, and they're like, "Yeah, oh, really?" I love it. One of my favorite companies, and it just shows the beauty of that. There's hidden gems everywhere.
Yep, and they, in my opinion, they're the reason why the Welsh scene has helped started exploding, because they gave them a platform on a big show in London to get a lot of their faces back out there on a wider scale. Like, there is an argument that if, for example, Nico Angelo didn't start doing Riot at the level that he was, would he have broken those doors at Progress and RevPro? In my opinion, yes, absolutely, because he's incredible. But there's also a lot of incredible wrestlers that don't get booked on those big shows because they can't get their face out there. So, you know, they were a help for a lot of people that, you know, like you say, hidden gems to a certain degree. But at the same time, they're booking insanely talented wrestlers. And I think it's only a matter of time before a lot of insanely talented wrestlers get booked at all the top promotions. And like I said, Nico was an example of that. I think he would probably been working at all those big shows regardless. But I do think that they've helped shine a light on that scene, open it up. It's helped create a great relationship between myself from just being on the ring crew with a lot of that Welsh scene to the point where I've now worked with half of them at United because I keep going to him. This guy's incredible. You might want to bring him over, and they book him on shows and go, oh yeah, he is incredible. There you go. Have a match with him. Cool. Like, so I think, yeah, they're just brilliant. They're a brilliant company. They're doing some great things. It's going to be another great show on Wednesday, I'm sure. And yeah, I do think that they'll probably be one of the big 3, big 4 companies very, very, very soon if they're not already.
completely agree with you, mate. I think for a man who's the god of war, I think he'll know very much on what's going to be bouncing and being the top dominating thing going on. And I'm sure you'll be a part of it, mate.
I just think a show that's selling out 400 tickets consistently is a big show. You know, not many companies can say they do that. You're lucky if you get 100 at a lot of shows.
Speak to what they present and what they offer. You know what, Chris? Honestly, mate, before we wrap it up, I just want to say thank you for coming back on. You know, it's been an absolute pleasure to know you for all these years, seeing you grow, and you know, we're actually nearing the 200th episode of this show for a show that started in 2022. I'm just very grateful to have you back on to share this journey and as we reach that. So thank you from
not a problem at all. Congratulations on the 200. I'm glad it is still functioning and going since our last one. Said it's been a long 2.5 years.
Yeah, it has fucking been indeed.
And hopefully I'll see you at the Forbidden Door Riot Cabaret show this year if you're coming down for it.
Oh, tickets already booked, mate. Hotel. That was before I had that shit ordered. So we'll wrap up with the last final question. When you were on in the past, I asked you your dream tag team match if you got to appear at All In, and it was you and Artemis against FTR.
Yep.
So I'm now proposing this question. Anarchy in the arena. Let's say it's you against the Death Riders. So Moxley, Claudio, Yuta, Pac, and Marina Shafir. And you need to build a team to face the Death Riders. Who are you putting on your team? And what song are you going to have play while you all beat each other, the living shit out of each other?
Is this people that I've worked with, or just anybody that I could pick from any company, or just indie scene style? What are we going with?
You go. I'll give you the on you go. Anyone.
That makes it harder because there's so many more names you could pick. I'm going to go with Michael Oku because I think he's going to be one of the best professional wrestlers in the world, and also very lovely guy, somebody I've been humbled to share a few locker rooms with, learn from, get advice from. So let's stick him in there. And with that, I think Amira comes with, so why not chuck her in a match with it? So there's 2 of the slots filled immediately. And do you know what? I will keep it more closer to indie level and closer to home. We'll go with Tommy Kyle, one of my best friends in wrestling. And, I'm going to upset someone here. Do you know what? I'm going to sit on the outside of it, and I'm going to be managing the team.
So
wow. We'll send Oku, Amira, Tommy Kyle, Arthur Scurro, and Harrison Leon in there. They can go fight it out. Arthur Scurro being my brother, I would always fight next to my brother without question. We've fought through life together, and we're very, very close in our older years now from when we were growing up. So I will always go to war with him. So I say go to war with him. I'm going to sit on the outside and watch. And Harrison Leon, again, just same reason as Tommy Kyle, one of my closest friends in wrestling. And then Michael Oku and Amira, probably, in my opinion, the best wrestler in the world, and one of the most lovely people in Amira. Such a talented wrestler, deserves way more flowers on the wrestling side of it as much as she gets on the valeting side, managerial side of it. Because she's extremely talented in both senses. And I'm glad she's finally getting matches at Rev Pro and getting all of the glory and everything that she deserves as well. Just a very lovely, humble person.
Yeah.
So that's my team, and I'm going to sit and stay very clean and not get needles in my head or glass over my head. Just going to stay nice on the outside. I'll be the Paul Heyman of that team.
All right. Okay. Fair point. But like, what song are you gonna have there play? I mean, we had bodies. So you got to pick a song.
Do you know what? At the minute, I am currently listening to a playlist which is like based off the old like SmackDown versus Raw games, and I think there's some of like the best like MV sort of highlight reel music songs you can pick. So I'm going to go Blackstone Cherry, Lonely Train, because at the minute that's one that's just been plowing. And when that guitar kicks in at the start with the drums, I think that's a chair shot over the head, and it just goes off from there.
Oh, it's definitely the match type for Anarchy, and I think you've built a hell of a team to face the Dead Riders, mate. I mean, that. Oh, fuck yeah. That's what I want to see. Jesus Christ, man. Well, Chris, mate, thank you for coming back on the Soul Sessions. We have come to the end of our time.
Thanks for having me, man. Pleasure as always.
Pleasure is mine as well, my friend. So I guess I'll just wrap up as I have done for before. As a good Scotsman says, finish up your pint, folks. Put your chairs away. Thank you as always for tuning in for another episode of the Soul Sessions. Cheers, brother.
Now about the humans who wanna live like animals do. No more laws and no more rules.